Gauteng Education MEC, Matoma Juluane, has given Seanego Attorneys Incorporated 7 days to complete an investigation into the drowning of 2 Daveyton Skills School pupils. The MEC appointed the law firm to look into circumstances surrounding their deaths. Sipamantla Peterson and Sibusiso Siiba drowned during a discipline camp in Centurion. The department says it did not sanction the trip. The pupils were buried this week.
As I've been indicating that I had appointed a law firm, which I've done today to introduce it. On my left quickly is the director, legal office, Shasha. And then we're with our attorney here, Tembele Graham. Yes, she's from Seanego Attorneys. They are the law firm that will be doing the investigation for us. We've given them terms of reference, of which I'll give an opportunity to just highlight briefly those terms of references. But what we have done also, we've introduced them to the families first, so that the families are aware as to now what we're doing with regard to what happened in the incident, the commitments that we've made as a department. And furthermore, I've given them 7 days to really conclude this process. So they've got a lot of work to do. So they immediately from Monday or today, whatever, they want to start running, ensuring that they really do their work as expected.
Chiluane says he's confident that the law firm he's appointed will give a credible report.
They've got a lot of experience. We have worked with them before. They've assisted us with a case in Togoza Buhlebuzile School. That is where grade 10 learner fell in class and she passed on. And they were able to give us quite a comprehensive report of which we were able to act upon. So they have a lot of, they're doing quite a number of investigative cases across with namely they're doing South African Weather Services and other. So this is a credible company or firm, law firm, which with a lot of experience, and so we are confident that they'll be able to give us something that is a report that is credible, a report that will also assist the department to really tighten and close the gaps, as a lot of society have been asking us, where do you close the gaps, how do you improve where, so they will be doing that for us as well.
The number of learners who have drowned during school-related excursions have continued to grow. Putting the spotlight into regulations around rules and adherence to the regulations. For more on plans to strengthen rules, I'm joined by Gauteng Education spokesperson Steve Mabona. Steve, appreciate your time this evening. Now, in light of the recent incidents involving school excursions and the lack of departmental approval for the discipline camp where the pupils tragically drowned, what steps will the Gauteng Education Department take to ensure stricter oversight and accountability in improving the monitoring of these school excursions?
Good evening, and to all our viewers. Yes, we will be looking at the Gazette, looking at the policies around excursions, look at the number of educators that you will allocate, looking at the number of learners that you will be responsible for, because that's where MEC has already indicated to say we probably need to look at that. Because for an example, the policy says you will have 20 learners per educator. And we feel that probably that might be too much for one educator. So those are the things that we need to review and check whether can't we reduce the number, probably to 10 per educator, or introduce other mechanisms that are going to be assisting us. So parallel to all these investigations and looking at the recommendations that are made by these independent law firms, we then need to tie up our policies and make sure that we reduce the number of incidences that we are experiencing in our schools.
Steve, if we look at the inquiry that this law firm is carrying out, I think in the last 18 months or 24 months, it's probably the third or fourth one. What have been the key learnings from the other inquiries that they've carried out, and have these learnings been implemented?
If we were to go back to the Mpianzi matter, it gave us an indication on what is it that you need when you undertake any water-related activity. You need to have guards, safety vests, and you must have educators at all times. You cannot, send learners without educators. And secondly, the one that happened recently in Queenswood, it gave recommendations that we need to do away with an approval that will happen at the school level. Like, for instance, if schools were to decide that they are going on an excursion, probably just one day, that approval must also be sought from the district so that we can then take accountability. That's one recommendation that we also are following through, just to make sure that we are safe. And they also recommended that we need to have a list of all camps, of all places that we are taking our children. Like, for instance, the Queenswood, camp or the site was saying there are no lifeguards, and to a certain extent, you can't have a camp that you don't have lifeguards and you are taking our children there. So all these recommendations are giving us something to think about and make sure that we enforce and tied up our policies. So we're going to be implementing all those recommendations, as it were.
Steve, in all you've mentioned, I haven't heard anything regarding the ability of the educators to be able to swim. So even if you have one educator to one pupil, or just a handful of pupils, if the educator cannot swim, just what assistance are they going to be able to give these learners if they are in danger of drowning?
No, but educators don't need to know how to swim. But remember, the recommendation is that there must be lifeguards at all times. There's no way that you don't have lifeguards. Then lifeguards will be experienced people who will then know how to swim.
But Steve, the reality is there are no lifeguards.
No. But I'm saying educators' role is to make sure that they prioritize safety of children. I mean, if there are not lifeguards, educators will know that there are no lifeguards, then our children cannot swim there. But in any event, recommendations are saying we cannot take our children where there are not lifeguards. So educators' role will then to make sure that there are lifeguards, and then learners can be in a position to undertake any water activity.
Steve, I'd like to take you to CPR, basic CPR or basic first aid, right? Many of the individuals, including maybe you and I when we were in school, learned basic first aid. We weren't nurses or doctors, but it allows us to give provision that may sustain a life. Now, in the instance of the Daveyton boys, what we understand is that the two learners ran off into the water, or one ran to the water, and his colleague tried to go and rescue him. Now, in the event that the lifeguards had gone and these kids ran off, if an educator was able to swim, then some of these disasters would have been prevented, particularly where...
No.
You disagree?
No, I disagree. We can't even go into that, the recent incident, because there's so many allegations. That's why MEC decided to appoint this investigative team to assist us to understand on what happened. There's so many allegations that are coming from the families whom we've interacted with. They were saying that children were abused. We don't know. Maybe those children were not even swimming, they were running, and they happened to fall into that dam, because the dam is man-made. It's not even, they didn't even go into the river. So there's so many allegations that we really need to understand on what happened. So that's why the case in point, we can't even start to make example with. Maybe if we can go back and refer to the Mpianzi matter and the Queenswood one, because those are concluded and we can, talk about those examples. But this recent one, it's we are continuing with the investigation as it were. We've introduced the investigators to the families and the school, and we'll rely on what they will come up with. Then we can make example out of that. But for now, I'm wary of even going to make any example using this case.
All right, Steve, fair enough. So let's talk about the unauthorized discipline camp. Right, we've talked about the investigation that's being carried out, and obviously certain accountability will go to the educators or to the school. What happens to this establishment that was not regulated but chose to invite these learners?
No, part of the terms of reference, they will then have to go and do an inspection local, and then interact with the facilitators, the owners of this NGO, and just to understand on what was the bid, what was expected out of them, as per the school would have given them a mandate to do that, to conduct that discipline camp. So part of the investigation would involve them interacting with everyone, the camp, school, the school management team, SGB, families, learners, because those families have a lot, and families and learners, they have a lot of information at their disposal. So to an extent that they even have recordings. And so that will assist the investigative body to come up to a conclusion on what might have transpired. So their work is, they need to, do a lot of work, taking cognizance the number of learners that are involved here. We're talking about 90. But we know that not all of them will be amenable to speak. They will then make a call, probably after hitting 40 or 50 learners. They should be in a position to make a call, because those will assist them with the investigation.
Steve Mabona, Gauteng Education spokesperson, appreciate your time this evening, and we'll certainly be picking up that conversation in a week or so when that investigation is done, putting the spotlight into regulations around rules and adherence to those same rules around learners and school-related excursions.